Hey everybody, Greg Pruitt here with Idaho Dispatch, and I am joined today by Jennifer Imhoff with the Libertarian Party of Idaho, and you are the state chairman, correct?
That is correct.
All right, well thank you for taking time to sit down with us. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak with you guys.
All right, so, in Idaho, we are in a heavy Republican state. Republicans control 80% of the legislature in both chambers, both congressional seats, the governorship, the lieutenant governor, pretty much everything at the state level and congressional level. So I guess, number one, what is it like as a third party, and you would be the third largest party in Idaho, what is it like to be in a heavy Republican controlled state?
Idaho is definitely a one-party state. There might be other parties on that ballot, but when you look at the demographics and what's happening, it's Republican versus Republican. And the voices of anyone trying to challenge their narrative is really drowned out. So unfortunately, it's one-sided, and we don't get enough discourse as Idahoans because of that oversighted one-party system. But Idaho's better than most states. We do have major ballot access as the Libertarian Party, which not all states get to stay. And that allows us more of a voice, but we still have an upward challenge. And that has more to do with national politics, trying to drown out those third, fourth parties than what Idaho's doing. I'm actually very proud of what Idaho does to support third parties. It's just getting people on board and understanding that, we're worth their time.
Okay. So, one of the biggest issues for third parties is going to be, the splitting the vote, right, is how it's commonly referred to. And so if you vote for candidate A, or if you vote for the third party, then candidate A is going to get your vote instead, essentially. Or if you vote for candidate B, then you're really voting for candidate A type situation. So, what is your response to people that say you're splitting the vote, we need to vote again? Need to vote for all the Republicans so the Democrats don't win, or vice versa?
Yeah, I reject that logic. We can't simultaneously spoil a vote and be a throwaway vote at the same time. And really where that comes from is people who want to treat their vote like it's Vegas. It's not a bet. You're not betting on the lead horse. Your vote should be considered an endorsement. And that's what I've always encouraged people. Maybe your candidate won't win, but that vote is an endorsement saying those are the policies, those are the people, those are the ideas that I support. And even if it fails, those big parties, even the Republicans who have that major lead here, they still look at those numbers and they go, wow, that candidate might not have won, but they pulled a lot of weight. What were those issues that mattered the most to the people? And so when you're voting for a third party, that's that message you're sending. It's not throwing away a vote unless all you care about is who won. But if you care about the policies, you care about making change and progress, then that vote matters.
Okay, so what has been the challenge, and how long have you been the state chairman? So
I've been state chairman since August of last year, 2020. So I'm still relatively new as chair for the party, but definitely jumped in feet first and gotten a lot of updraft on the party. So we are quickly growing. The numbers are escalating fast. Our membership numbers have doubled in just the time I've been around. And the interest in the party nationwide is definitely ballooning fast.
Okay. So what's been, I guess, the biggest challenge so far that you've noticed, being a third party in Idaho?
It's the media blackout. So this is why I appreciate you taking the time to include us in your...
Have you never done an interview so far with any Idaho media?
I have during the presidential election.
Okay.
And mostly that was because I interjected myself and made sure I was at the right place at the right time. But these other major news outlets are not calling me. And, it's not just me. They're not calling the candidates. They're not including them in the forums. They're not even including our presidential candidates in debates. And that's a big loss on their end.
Okay, so that's been the biggest challenge so far. Okay.
That's, other than that, being a libertarian in Idaho it's a great time to be a libertarian. It seems like everybody's trying to capitalize on that messaging and everybody's excited about freedom. I always say liberty is alive and well in Idaho right now. We're one of the last few states to really not just champion it, but respect what liberty means. And so being the party that is behind liberty, it's a great time.
Okay. What are some of the, I guess, key issues that not the National Libertarian Party necessarily, but the Idaho Libertarian Party, what are the key issues that you guys are working on right now?
Right now we're focused a lot on the tangible issues that are impacting Idahoans. So while national parties are all arguing about, things like mandates and debt, here we want to look at what's impacting the local communities the most. And I think first on our list is going to be the grocery tax. We're one of the last states who actually implement a grocery tax, and it's one of the worst regressive taxes you can do on American people. So we're going to be really pushing the envelope and saying, no, now's time to get rid of that 6%.
Okay.
Other than that, we also want to do more about reducing taxes. And it's not just about, taxes and money. I know the second big issue we're going to fight is we want to remove the tax on firearm safeties. So things like a safe. We want people to have safe firearm access and habits. Then why are we taxing them and preventing them from being able to buy a safe? Not only that, Liberty Safes are built here in Idaho. These are things we're supposed to be proud of and champion. So if I have that extra, 6% to spend on a safe, I'll go up a notch and make sure I buy the one that's built in my state. And so we want to encourage more patterns like that.
Okay. How do you guys, speaking of issues, and this is another big issue here in Idaho, which is the issue of abortion. Idaho, the Republican Party is definitely more in the pro-life state and government intervention in that situation. The Libertarian Party nationally is very much not necessarily pro-abortion, but like pro-government staying out of abortion, correct? And so what does the Libertarian Party of Idaho have a different stance, or how do you guys deal with trying to bring in new members in the state where it's very pro-life and those types of concerns?
This is one of the trickiest topics, and our official stance is we have no stance. It's very easy to twist that into a negative and say, oh, you are with that side because you won't get involved. Ultimately, we're not mature enough as a society to make that decision as a whole. And we feel that we need to grow before we make a oversweeping decision. In Idaho specifically, we're a very religious community. And because of that, we actually find a lot of libertarians who understand that decisions of that caliber need to be made locally within a community. Okay. There was a time where this was a decision for family and church. The purpose of a church is to be there to support someone through that decision. Whatever that decision may be, that's a lifelong decision someone's going to have to live with. And they're going to need community. Idaho's big on community. And so by getting government out of the way, we're actually returning to our roots of having that community support and putting pressure on, the family units, the religious units, the schools. All of those need to come together and support women in these decisions, not some federal person across the state who wants to grandstand.
Okay.
And so we definitely support the individual choice, but mostly it's about education. Let's actually talk about the issue instead of fighting about it, and encourage women to come out and say, hey, this is what I'm afraid of, this is what I'm concerned about, and then let them find the right path for them that way.
Okay. Okay. What is the Libertarian Party of Idaho's stance on the current status of education? Right. This is one of the biggest topics that we hear about in the media and by candidates and by groups and stuff is education. So where are you guys at on what needs to happen, or does anything need to happen with the education system? Does it find the way it is?
We are very, very pro-choice when it comes to education. And what that means is that there is no right path in education for a child. So we need more homeschooling options. We need more charter school options. We need more private school options. And by having all those opportunities, you can get your kid in the right path. Government overreach has destroyed our education. And most people don't realize that the Department of Education only began in 1980. And so in the last 20 years, that's basically the time frame most people give of like when education went downhill. And so we do have more support systems for children with learning disabilities in one way, but really a lot of those support systems have come from the charter schools, from those private schools who are able to focus in because they're not busy being told what to do to appease the whole. You get that little school that say, you know what, we're going to focus on Johnny this year, and then they are able to help Johnny and say, hey, these are the things that work. Let's share that with the other schools. And so we want to encourage more education on a local level. And that's that way, especially in Idaho, we need farmers. We need people who understand the technology behind farming. We don't need more coders. But there are places that do need coders. And so why are we trying to build an education system that's going to appease Florida, California, and Idaho? Let's let Idaho focus on Idaho.
Okay. What about when it comes to the money issue? Because, right now, I think the state of Idaho just said the tax surplus is even higher than they were predicting. And I think they've done that twice now. Or the teacher pay, I guess, is what we're getting at. Is the teacher pay an issue, do you think? And, the money is really the big issue.
Yeah.
And are we spending enough, not spending enough, spending?
There's a great comedian who said, money ain't tight, it just ain't right. And that's kind of how I feel when it comes to funding and education. A lot of people might think that we're underfunding our education, but there really is billions of dollars there. And it's a question of where that's going. So our teachers are underpaid. I do think that there is a disparity there. But at the same time, Idaho teachers have the best retirement plans. And so clearly the problem lies in the administration, where they need to sit down and look at their numbers and their plans, and they need to clean house. Because if there's not accountability in their own infrastructure, then how is the American or the Idaho taxpayers going to come in and fix anything? And so I think the money's there. It's just a matter of getting it out of administrative hands and into the teachers' hands. West Ada is a great example. This is a very controversial school district. It's huge. And most people don't realize, it covers from Eagle, Meridian, down to Cuna. And we shouldn't really have a district that big. There are some benefits when it comes to, the scale of economics in busing and in food systems. But at the end of the day, that's not our concern. Our concern is educating the kids and making sure the teachers have everything they need to educate the kids. So if that's not priority one, then we shouldn't be worrying about everything else. And so I'd like to see, again, more local focus. If that power of money isn't in the community, then there's no accountability, and it all disappears in, superintendents' pockets or in pension plans, and it's not going to the people who are actually in the classrooms needing the money the most.
Okay. Okay. I guess one of my final questions, and you kind of brought this up, is about the vaccine and mask mandates, actually. That's been obviously a very big topic here in Idaho. So ignoring maybe the national issue somewhat, where do you guys stand, or do you have an official stance on vaccine and mask mandates, maybe in schools in particular? That's another hot topic. We are against mandates, especially at a federal level.
Again, going back to, the too big of a district problem. When you look at things like mask mandates, that needs to be addressed by the school. Not even the district, the school, because every community has a different dynamic. And maybe it has to do with how many children in their school are on ISP plans. Or maybe it has to do with, are they rural and out in, Rigby where there's not as much come and go, or are they in Boise where there's literally planes of people and travelers coming and going? Those needs are constantly dynamic. And so trying to whip together a plan that's going to outstretch everybody and appease everybody, it's never going to happen. One of the things that frustrated me as a parent was, why didn't these school districts say, well, this school should have a mask mandate and this school shouldn't, and then you get to choose which school you go to. And there should have been more option, but we have way too many regulations on zoning and where your district lies and what your registration is. And we overcomplicated that. It should have been simple enough to say, let's segregate and put kids who are concerned about safety in this pod and kids who are concerned about freedom in this pod. And then focus, again, let's get back to education. But we're a little too lost in those weeds. On a greater scheme, same thing, let businesses decide. I know it's very frustrating, especially for people who are highly concerned about the virus and being able to go get their groceries and do things like that safely. But as long as businesses make decisions on their own, you will have businesses that choose to mask and choose not to mask. You'll have businesses that choose to vaccinate and choose not to vaccinate. And as long as that is a free market choice, you'll allow the people an opportunity to say, well, that's the restaurant that does the thing that I support. And so that's the restaurant I'm going to go to. You know, we easily forget we live in a modern world. We have internet, we have cell phones with, you know, Yelp and Google. And so we can easily find out which one will accommodate our values. And it makes it very easy for us to do that. So even here in Idaho, I think we're constantly trying to keep up with the Joneses of the other states, whether it be in mandates or in freedom. And we need to just focus on what's best for Idaho and what's going on with our numbers. You know, I travel around the state a lot, and I can personally say, you know, what's good for Eagle, not going to be the same thing that what's good for Nampa. And those are two very close cities. And so why the government thinks they can make the best decision, that's just infuriating. I think they need to leave that to the local governments.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, here at the end, we usually like to give people, groups or candidates, whatever, an opportunity to kind of pitch to the citizens. So, you know, you can talk to the citizens directly through the camera and just let them know about the party and your website and how they can get involved if they want to do that. And
yeah. So you can find out more information at www.lpid.org. We have our platform available, lots of ways to get involved, and we are on all the different social media platforms. Ultimately, the Libertarian Party, we're the party of reason. We're here to have the discourse and those uncomfortable conversations so that we can get focused back on policy and not politics. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we appreciate you taking time to sit down with us, and we'll be happy to do this again in the future.
Perfect. Thank you so much.